Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about when it comes to dieting and certain personality types and certain types of people, moderation is not the answer for everyone. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's talk about that because that's something that comes up a lot here in the training world. This is one of the big topics you see all the time. People always say things like moderation, flexible dieting, things like that. What people don't seem to understand, in my experience dealing with other people, and I do see this on social media both ways. I see people who are extremely anti-flexible dieting, and I see people who are very pro-flexible dieting, or if it fits your macros. And, because I have a lot of friends out there in the fitness world, personal friends, things like that, and I watch their walls. And what's interesting is that most people who have ever struggled with obesity and overeating in their life, flexible dieting doesn't work that well for them. And the number one complaint that you hear is because if I eat 200 calories of any of these junk foods, I just get hungrier. And what's also interesting is that we have studies on this. That's the interesting point. We've seen studies that show that when we can put them in a controlled environment and monitor what they do and actually watch what people eat, that when people eat refined carbs, particularly refined sugars, they tend to eat more calories at the next meal that they eat. So even if they eat them as a snack or if they eat them as part of a meal, the more refined their carbohydrate sources are, the more likely they are to overconsume at the next meal they eat. Doesn't matter whether it's in 1 hour or 5 hours from then, they will tend to overeat more. And people who have dopamine issues with their brain, which means people who are predisposed to addiction, which is anything from alcoholism to drug abuse to gambling addictions, people with addiction issues, they're genetic. Those people tend to respond even more strongly. They will overeat even more. And we've noted that things like table sugar and refined sugars do have a response in the brain very similar to addictive drugs in the way that your dopamine and everything responds in the brain. And so that's an interesting point. And how do we deal with addiction? It's usually abstinence, meaning when someone is a recovering alcoholic or a recovering addict, do we tell them to drink in moderation? Is that how Alcoholics Anonymous works? No, we have them go leave it alone completely. Now, people who don't become addicts can drink in moderation and usually be okay as long as it stays at moderation. But once you have the addiction and you go overboard, moderation is very difficult to make work. It's like telling a drug addict they just need to moderate their addictive drug. Doesn't always work that way. In refined foods, people can absolutely develop addictions to them. We see the addiction, it's measurable. So the problem with the moderation approach is that it tends to cause people to be hungry who are predisposed to things like sugar addictions. And when you think about it, human beings are designed to crave 3 types of foods because these are the 3 types of foods that keep us from starving to death during famines so that we fatten up. The things that we crave are sweet, salty, and fatty. All right? And anything that combines those 2 together, oh man. And if you want an example, how about pizza? Pizza is both salty and fatty. How about a big piece of cake? People think of that as sweets, right? No, it's sweets and fat. That's why we crave stuff like that so much. A lot of these pastries and sweets and things is because it's the combination of sugar, which makes you hungry, combined with fat, which you crave to keep you from basically starving to death, because that's how you put on extra body fat. So that's what you're dealing with. That's your normal cravings, and then you combine that with addiction and refined foods and low satiety foods, and people will tend to overeat. And low satiety foods can also include really, really high fat foods, particularly if they're low in protein on top of it, because protein is satiating, but calorie for calorie, fat is the least satiating of anything you consume, with sugars being right behind it. The only thing is that, fat doesn't necessarily trigger you to get hungry again. So it's very easy to overeat high-fat foods in one sitting. But sugary foods, again, as we've noted in the data out there, will tend to make you hungry later. And so people who do this whole moderation thing, you see plenty of people who do just fine. They weigh their ice cream out on a scale. They weigh their Pop-Tarts out on a scale. And those people do okay because they don't have sugar addictions. They don't have dopamine issues in their brain. These people have probably never been overweight either. What you find, the most successful strategy for keeping from being really obese, and people need to understand, a lot of people will mess with me about that, but I'm actually at a healthy body fat, according to medical doctors. But also, if I just ate whatever I wanted, I would be 300 plus pounds. Even though I do an hour of cardio every day, I weightlift. You guys see what I lift. I mean, you guys have seen me do 500 pounds this month on the deadlift, beltless, strapless, everything else for 7 reps, right? 7 reps, leaving one in the tank, not even a failure. So, I mean, I lift pretty heavy. I train decently hard. I do an hour of cardio every day, at least an hour. But if I were to just eat whatever the fuck I wanted, I would balloon up to 300 pounds easily. If I just ate any food that I craved anytime I wanted and stopped eating it when I felt full and only ate again when I was hungry, I can go up to 300 pounds easy if I eat garbage like that. And what you find is that people with major appetite issues like that, moderation doesn't work. We can do them on special occasions, meaning my birthday, I had a big, enormous ribeye steak, which I didn't eat the whole thing, by the way. My girlfriend bought that and said, let's share this. This is a really good deal. It's only $50 for, you know, a 35-ounce ribeye while we're here eating, and then we can get dessert and everything with it. Special occasion on a holiday. But outside of that, your day-to-day eating, you can't really get away with a lot of that. At least I can't. And I know a ton of other people out there who can't either. So what do? You eat mostly bland foods. And there's good data on that showing that people who adhere to their diets the longest are the people who don't over-season their foods. They don't over-sweeten their foods. They don't even put tons of artificial sweeteners on them. Drink coffee black. Don't over-spice your food. Don't over-season your food. Keep your food semi-bland so that most of what you eat on a 1 to 10 scale, you know, with 1 being nasty and 10 being the most amazing meal you've ever had, stick around 6, 5 on the 1 to 10 scale. Don't eat foods that you really, really love. Just eat foods that are okay. Snack on high satiety, high fiber foods. What do I eat for snacks? If I'm just craving something, I take shredded wheat, like the 7 gram of fiber, low fat, like post-shredded wheat. I eat tons of that stuff, and I put some fat-free plain Greek yogurt on it and mix it up and eat it. And then my stomach feels full and drink a big glass of water. That's what I do between meals when I just kind of am craving something that's junk. Or if I want to munch on something, I eat those. Instead of going and eating like a Pop-Tart or any of these things that a lot of fixed your macros and flexible dieters might do, let's munch on stuff like that. And that's the strategies that most of you have to use. If you're predisposed to obesity, it's generally because you have major appetite issues, that it's very, very difficult for you to get full, and if you eat the wrong foods, they make you hungry. Even if you eat 500 calories, and for some people, there's a lot of people who could eat 500 calories of food and get full. People who are prone to obesity are because they have appetite issues. They have foods that stimulate their appetite that don't fill them up. So you might as well have not eaten anything at all. Meaning someone who has appetite issues like that, dopamine issues, if they were to eat 500 calories of Pop-Tarts, in 2 hours they're going to be hungrier than if they had not eaten anything at all. They would have been better from a weight loss perspective of just not eating and waiting till their next meal, because they're going to get even hungrier. And so moderation doesn't work. Eating bro foods, actually, for people who are predisposed to that, is the best method to keep from getting fat, to keep your body weight roughly where you want it, to keep your appetite in check. You eat high protein or very, very high fiber foods, and you keep your dietary fat low, and you keep your sugar intake low. Again, because these are the things that are going to be low satiety, is going to be high fat foods, and the foods that are going to make you hungry and crave more are going to be sugary foods. So moderation doesn't work for people predisposed to obesity, people who are predisposed to food addictions. It's best to just stick with 95% bro-type foods all the time. Brown rice, grilled chicken, Greek yogurt, oats. And your oats can be fairly plain. Put a little Greek yogurt in them. Hot water and some Greek yogurt. They don't need to have an artificial sweetener. Bro foods. Plain baked potatoes. Even mashed potatoes. In fact, potatoes have been shown to be one of the highest satiety foods out there. There have been studies on that. But the thing is, eating foods that taste okay, that don't taste amazing, that taste okay most of the time, treating yourself on special occasions only, but special occasion doesn't mean it's Friday. And again, just sticking with filling foods and not trying to moderate, just eating what people will call a clean diet, which generally means low fat, high fiber, low sugar. that is what's going to work for most people who are predisposed to these problems. You know, it's like so much of the fitness world is geared towards the hard gainer, the guys who struggle to gain weight and gain muscle, and it seems like very, very little of it out there these days is there to help people who really struggle with body weight or body fat. And that's really what a lot of it needs to be geared more towards, because that's a whole segment of people I feel like the whole online fitness world kind of ignores. They really do. And you know they're ignoring them when they preach the flexible dieting thing, because most people who are predisposed to overeating, flexible dieting, and the whole cult of moderation is simply not going to work. It is going to make them fat again. All right, guys, well, that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.